It is time to bring Florence into the 21st century. She is nearly 40 years old, and her equipment is lagging well behind the latest onboard technology.
For some years now, Florence's power and electronic systems have been struggling to keep up with our needs. We are definitely behind the curve, but that is about to change.
We are Matt and Amy, and this is Florence, our 37-foot sailboat on which we have sailed over 50,000 miles around the world. Now we are repairing and upgrading her in preparation for the next adventure. And that means a 6-month refit in the boatyard.
When we are living our unconnected life in remote anchorages and out on the ocean, we are 100% reliant on our onboard systems. It's time for the biggest upgrade we have ever made to our boat.
So the time has come to address our power issues on board Florence. We've been around the whole world with 250 watts of solar and 450 amp hours of wet cell lead acid batteries. These are golf cart batteries, actually 6-volt batteries, all connected up to give us 12 volts. Now, it's been fine. It's run the fridge, it's run our instruments. When we're at sea, we do lack a little bit of power, so we tend to turn things off to save power. But the real biggest problem is we don't actually have enough power to run our laptops when we're trying to edit. So if it's a rainy day and we're not getting sun on the solar powers, we just can't really store enough to run both of our editing laptops, even though we've chosen lower power laptops to try and be able to run them. So time has come to upgrade Florence to fancy new lithium batteries. But the first step is to take out our old batteries, and then we've got to measure the space really carefully, because the real problem on small boats is fitting things in. If we had just a big square space that we could just chuck the new batteries into and lay out all the fuse boxes and extra boxes to charge the batteries, it would be easy. But we kind of measured things with the batteries in situ, and we're talking about, okay, we've got about 5 millimeters of wiggle room, so it's a bit difficult to measure really accurate with everything in place. So we're going to strip it all out, measure the space we've got, and check that we can actually fit what we want to fit. This is a very big box of parts. It's a very exciting box of parts that we've been waiting for. This is the entire power system, entirely new power system for Florence. This is lithium batteries and all of the charging system that goes with it, along with a lot of breakers and switches to link it all together. So very excited to open this and get at what's inside. But that was a huge delivery of very exciting presents for Florence. A lot of parts, our entire new power system on board Florence. The first things to come on board are our new batteries. So we've gone with the MLI Ultras from Mastervolt. These are 230 amp hour lithium batteries. We've got 2 of them, so we're going to put them in parallel and we'll have 460 amp hours at 12 volts. 460 amp hours is very similar to what we had before. We had 450 amp hours of wet cell lead acid batteries, but with the wet cell lead acids you can only use about 50% of that capacity, whereas with these you can use almost 100% of the capacity. So we're almost doubling our usable capacity on board. These are also half the weight, which is nice. So hopefully this is going to mean that we can edit again on rainy days and get out and explore and film on the sunny days. Because these batteries are so powerful, they can put out a huge amount of current. You need to be quite careful how we're fusing them. And they come with a safety relay. And we've gone with a version that bolts on top. And that enables the system to turn the batteries off if there's a problem, or if it needs to isolate it from the rest of the system. Despite the new batteries actually being smaller, same capacity, more usable capacity, but smaller, fitting them in wasn't quite as simple because they're so much more powerful that the cables to use with them need to be bigger, and we're also fitting an inverter back here and a better way of charging those batteries from the alternator. So there's actually more parts to fit in back here, and they're a slightly different shape. And on an old 37-foot boat from the 1980s, there isn't a lot of space on board. So I've had to take out all of the support structure for the old batteries and build some new boxes to house the new ones. So it's going to be interesting to see if I've got it right and they actually fit.
Well, after a little bit of adaptation for the tie-down straps, they fitted. Step 1 complete. But it is not just the lithium batteries that we need to fit in back here. We also have the engine battery, solar charge controllers, a combined battery charger and inverter, and DC-DC power supplies between the engine battery and lithium batteries. Then we need to fit the right size cables and fuses to safely link it all together. Finding space and building supports for all of that inside Florence took some time.
So with all of the main components in, we started fitting the wires and the fuse boxes. Now the fusing is particularly important with these lithium batteries because they can put out so much current, and to use them with the inverter, there's actually quite a lot of current flows through to the inverter, so we do need some fat cables. These are mainly to reduce the volt drop. They're way overrated for the current that can go through them, but we're trying to reduce the volt drop going to the inverter, which is just up here. So these cables run up here. But they're really fat cables, so we needed a hydraulic crimping tool and all the right crimps in order to make these up. We actually managed to borrow this crimp tool from a friend. We're replacing pretty much all of the wiring on Florence, a process that took a couple of weeks of solid effort. And this is the result. I'll briefly explain what we've done back here. We've got the two lithium batteries here, and then on top we've got the main bus bar, which is where the main 12-volt bus bar from the batteries comes to and then distributes throughout the rest of the boat via this fuse hub, so everything's safely fused. And then the big fat cables go to the inverter charger, which is up behind this panel just over my shoulder, and also to the windlass, which is now connected to our lithium batteries rather than the engine battery because the lithium batteries are so much more powerful. We've got the engine battery over here, which is connected to the alternator, and power comes from the alternator to the engine battery and then through these two DC-DC converters into the lithium battery. So that's how we're going to charge the lithium batteries when we're running the engine. And then back up under here, we've got solar charge controllers, so that's from the solar panels that are on top of the bimini. We haven't actually put them on yet, but they will be there. And the Combi Master, which is our shore power and our inverter. This system is a lot smarter than our old system. These lithium batteries and all the Mastervolt components actually all talk to each other over these green cables of Masterbus. And then there's a display going to go in at the chart table where we can monitor all of the parameters in the system, temperatures, voltages, currents, and make sure that everything's running as it should be. Really happy with how it's gone in. Pretty neat. I didn't think I'd be able to get it in this neatly in the compact space. The one real compromise that I've had to make is that the front lithium battery here is actually underneath this shelf with the fuse block and the bus bar on. Now, ideally you'd be able to take the batteries out without having to remove any of the wiring, but we shouldn't have to take this out for at least 10 years. However, I did make a mistake and I forgot to set the dip switches on this, so I put all this together, all beautifully laid out and cable tied down, and then I had to take it all apart to get that battery out. I was worried how long that would take. Actually, in reality, it only took me 45 minutes to get it out, change the dip switches, and then put it all back to how it is now. So it's not that much of a compromise. We're also going to be replacing all of Florence's old instruments, and that means that I need to go in here in the back of the instrument panel where everything connects up. Since all the new instruments are different sizes and the new battery monitor is going to be different size, we're going to be changing the whole of the main instruments panel and switch panel. We're going to change from using fuses to using breakers, but that means the whole of this is going to change, and it gives me an opportunity to completely and utterly redo what is a little bit of a rat's nest of wires in the back of here. Now, when we bought Florence, this was a real rat's nest of chocolate blocks floating around in the bottom of the chart table, so I improved it by putting a back piece in here and screwing it all onto that so we could label and see what was there. But it's still a real rat's nest because it's linking between lots of different types of systems, NMEA 0183, C-Torque, and as we've added new instruments, they just sort of get fused on in a way. So now we're going to completely take all of this out, and the new systems will all be using the same NEMA 2000 to communicate between them, which should mean it will be much neater and simpler and easier to maintain inside of here.
The first new wires to go in after ripping out all of the old wiring were the NEMA 2000 backbone cables that link all of the instruments together. But it's not just wiring that we had to change.
Time to cut a scary big hole in the boat. This part of Florence used to have a big hole here where our old autopilot was fitted, but because the new autopilot controller is smaller than the old one, we actually filled that in from the back. We've got a backing piece of very nice veneered ply on the back, and Amy spent ages doing a nice gel coat repair across here, but now we've got to put another hole, not quite as big as the old one, in that nice gel coat repair. So we better get this right first time. This is a new autopilot controller, and we're going to try and fit this here. There we go. Fits. Didn't get it quite right though. The instrument fits, but I chipped the corner when I was drilling the holes in the four corners. I'm not really sure how to do that better. I drilled a pilot hole first and then countersunk it so that the bigger drill bits would ease into it, but a 10mm drill bit, it just caught and just chipped off this section of the gel coat. But luckily, the instrument does just cover it. So we still need to fill it because we need to have a good seal around the edge of the instrument so we don't get a leak here. But thankfully, the exact colour and everything of the repair it's not critical, it just has to be smooth. So I'm not in quite as much trouble as I would have been otherwise, I think.
And whilst we're on the subject of filling holes in the boat,
before we can launch, we obviously need to fill these two gaping holes in the bottom of Florence's hull. These are where our transducers poke out, which allow us to measure the depth, very important when we're sailing so we don't run aground, and our speed. But also we've got a new fancy way of looking at the depth, which we'll share with you in a different video. For now, we're just going to fill them, put the transducers in, and then we won't leak when we jump in the water. Okay, go for it. So this is our new switch panel, which we have now fully finished wiring. It is a hell of a lot neater than our old system and a lot easier, hopefully, to debug should we have any problems. So in here, these are the bus bars. That's our ground bus bar for all the grounds that come into this system. We've got a couple of positive bus bars to help distribute the power around the cabin circuit. And on the side in here, we've also got all of our NMEA 2000, so that's all of our instrumentation. It's so much neater using the NEMA 2000 system. And we've also got our antenna splitter to use our AIS with our masthead VHF aerial. And then all the switches here, and a couple of instruments on the panel as well. So that is all done, and this can go back. Ta-da! That is our new switch panel. So we've replaced all our old switches, which had fuses as well, with breakers. The old panel was starting to deteriorate the plastic, so it needed changing anyway. These are all nicely labelled. They've got lit up behind and a little light when you turn things on, which is nice and neat, make life easier in the dark. We need a few labels for these ones. We couldn't fit another one of these big panels in, and there wasn't a 4 one available, so we ended up just putting some of the old ones in here. We need to add some labels. And then behind here, this is the Master Volt display, which displays all of the power systems, so we can monitor everything on here. So we can see we've got our 2 lithium batteries, we can control the inverter and the charger from there, and there's a whole load of other stuff you can set up in here, which I haven't set up yet, so I'm looking forward to actually getting some downtime to sit down and play with this. But yeah, it's going to be really easy to monitor the whole system from here at the chart table. And then up here you can see some of the new instruments. So this is the exciting bit. After months of ripping stuff off, rewiring, running cables everywhere, and doing a lot of woodwork, it's finally time to start putting nice shiny new stuff back on. So that's our new chart plotter, but that's not all. We also have a lovely new piece of wood to go here. We had if you remember before, we had an old bit of plastic here with all the old instruments on, and we got a lovely nice piece of wood with the new ones on. It's nice having NEMA 2000 instruments now, makes the wiring a lot simpler and neater. Yeah. There we go. Now, probably should have checked they all work before I put all the screws in, but shall we see if they work? Florence is now super fancy. Should I turn them on? This is first time. This is not pre-recorded. We have not tested this first.
Yes! It worked.
I got that wiring right? Ooh, fancy, fancy. This is the first time this has been switched on. English UK, I think. Oh, reset.
Touch screen.
Touch screen, yeah, we didn't have that on our old one.
Yeah.
Oh! Oh, and that knows where we are now. Well, this is very fancy. We've got a lot of learning to do about how this new system works. So, new chart plotter, but it's obviously got a lot more capabilities than our old one had, and we've got a lot more bits on the boat, which we'll get to later. And then we've actually got less displays across here because these are now multifunction displays. So we had speed and depth before, but they're combined, and you can have these displaying anything. So we just got speed and depth on there, and we had 2 wind displays before as well. We had a close hauled wind and a normal wind, so we can do anything on these. And then we had in the middle, we had just a GPS repeater. So I think we'll be playing around to work out what we want where. But yeah, very fancy, and it all works. Whereas before we were like missing digits off of things and various things didn't work very well. This is all new and shiny. So we've had this really strange shaped package arrive. Can't work out what it is. Really well disguised. It's quite heavy. Any ideas? I'm going to have to open it and find out. Wow. That is great. This is a bit like a bit of jewellery for Florence, what it is. Oh, there we go.
Wow.
Our new spade anchor. This is ridiculous. I don't actually want to put it down on the concrete floor in the shed. I'm looking for something soft to put it on, which is ludicrous for an anchor that's going to get used all of the time, to be honest. But this is beautiful. I can't get over how shiny it is. It's like a work of art rather than a working anchor. It's absolutely stunningly beautiful. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to stay like this very long because we're going to be dropping it on the bottom of the ocean and covering it in mud and gravel and all the other stuff that's down there. This is actually a stainless steel version of our spade anchor, which we had for the last 7 years sailing around the world. We had a galvanised version which needed re-galvanising a couple of times, and we spoke to Spade and they very kindly sent us a stainless steel version instead. So this one won't need re-galvanising, which is brilliant, because when you're sailing around the world, finding somewhere to get your anchor re-galvanised, even though you need to do it every few years, is also quite tricky to find somewhere. So this is brilliant. It was a very easy decision to choose another Spade anchor after the experience we had with the last one. We have absolute confidence in this looking after Florence whilst we're away hiking up hills and mountains. Now we've got our lithium batteries all installed and working, we can actually use the electric anchor windlass to make light of getting all this chain and shiny new anchor back on board. Right. That's the rope on the end of the chain through the windlass and the bitter end tied off. So all I've got to do is press the button and up will come the chain. Oh, well, almost. We haven't quite got round to fitting the new windlass switches yet, so I'm going to have to go and use the one in the cockpit.
Yeah.
That's going the right way?
Yeah.
Now, before everybody shouts at us for doing this, we are going to be attaching the swivel directly onto the anchor, which is not great for side loading, and we have been told this multiple times, but it is the way it's been for the entire way around the world for us. We are going to change that, we just haven't got the new shackle yet. So this is just temporary to get this anchor back up on Florence, ready so we can get in the water. Got to clean it off now, the swivel's not shiny enough for the anchor. That'll do, temporary.
Next time, it's the final push to get Florence out of the shed.
Well, our time has come finally to take Florence out of the shed. We've been in here for 6 months.
Feeling kind of mixed feelings about coming out of the shed. There were definitely times throughout this refit that I never thought we'd see this day.
For extra updates in between these bi-weekly videos, and to find out what we're up to in real time, head over to Patreon and join the crew. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to make sure that you don't miss the next episode here on YouTube.
Continuing our voyage on Florence would not be possible without the support of our patrons. Thank you to all of you, and especially to our star patrons.